Okay, there is a lot to work with here, which is good news and bad news. But the really good news is the website looks really, really good with a few minor things. The bad news is the actual development of the site is really, really bad. Not the development, the underpinnings of the site's really, really bad. And there's a lot of things that you could be doing. So let me just jump into it here. So I think the first thing that a lot of people have a misconception of is that there is some magic formula for SEO. Like you can just put certain keywords in certain headers and in certain titles and in certain places on a web page and you'll start ranking better. Now that certainly was true a while back, 5 years ago, 10 years ago especially. For example, if you wanted to rank, if you wanted to sell dog food, you could put dog food in the title, like best-selling dog food for dogs, and a bunch of H1s with dog food in it. And then in the body, you could put, we sell dog food because dogs like our dog food, period. Our dog food is the best because, mention it over and over again, and you would rank for it. But Google is getting so smart with deep learning and AI and semantics. Is that the right word? I don't even know if that's the right word. And we're going to get into all this, that a lot of those techniques don't work anymore. So SEO in 2019 and forward requires a ton of work. And this is all going to overwhelm you, and I understand that. But let me just jump into it here. So in order to go forward, we need to know what SEO considers the 3 most important factors for SEO. And I'll send you this link. I'm going to send you this entire document here. You can read through it. That's some notes that I've taken. So the first thing is content. And you guys don't have any content. I mean, you do have information on your services, on your business, but you don't have any other content related to the business. So we'll get into all that. Metadata. Your metadata looks okay. You do have schema. I'm pretty sure I think all of your web pages have the meta description filled in. Don't worry about meta keywords; those are not a thing anymore. And Google has said that they ignore them. And we'll get into this, but I just want to point out to you what Google says is most important. And then performance. And this is where you guys really need to do some work with. The performance of the website is really, really bad. And I'm not trying to be like funny or anything, but it's one of the worst that I've seen. So we will get into that. So when I say do this or do that, I want to have a disclaimer here. Nobody really knows what Google, if Google told everybody their algorithm, then they wouldn't be in business anymore because somebody would copy it. But there's been a lot of reverse engineering. There's been a lot of testing. There's been a lot of things that we know work, and they have admitted to a lot of things. So when I say do this, do that, it's not 100% positive all the time. It's based on research. It's based on experience, and it's based on the things that they have told us. So a lot of these things are just based on experience. Outdated techniques don't really work, and we've been over that. There's no magical solutions anymore. That's what a lot of people want from an SEO report. And SEO has a lot more to do with digital marketing and promotion these days. And we'll get into all that. It takes time. A lot of people want to start ranking in a week or 3 days. People buy a bunch of backlinks. Don't do that because you will actually get penalized. And recovering from a Google penalty is a long and painful process. It takes months, if not years, so definitely do not buy backlinks, do not buy traffic, don't do any of that stuff. You will get caught. It may be 2 years down the road after you've made a lot of money, but you do not want that on your, your Google record. So with the things I'm going to discuss here, especially the top 3, within 6 months you should start seeing some results. So the first major thing is the performance of your web page. Now these are the main tools, and this is my background as website performance, this type of thing. Done this for a long time. Your website is really, really bad. If you can see here, your load time in this first run was 61 seconds. The goal for websites is for like Amazon and stuff, you want to get under 3 seconds. I think it's unacceptable to get under 7 seconds, 8 seconds, but you should always reach for under 6 seconds or something like that. So 61 seconds is unbelievable. For example, here's another website called 42 Floors. They kind of do the same thing you do here where I live. You can see it took 5 seconds. Here's a blog that I have this is kind of my test ground for trying new techniques out. It took 3.6 seconds. So you can see this is unbelievable. There's no way you're going to rank in Google with a web page that takes 61 seconds to load. Now I did do a test of this website multiple times, and sometimes it would take 12 seconds, 20 seconds, 15 seconds, but you can't have it take anything over 10 seconds. You're just not going to rank. So there's a lot of Java. There's a lot of stuff. You can see if I scroll down here, you got, so this is called a waterfall chart. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 pages of assets that are web page assets that are loading. On this page, there's 1, 2, 3. That's pretty reasonable. On my page, there's 1, 2, 2. That's pretty reasonable. Now, and these are all topics under their own. We can't get into all the details of this stuff, but you can see how this is how a waterfall chart should look. It should look more like a staircase. This means things are loading simultaneously. See here how this is, this is my website. You see how it looks like a staircase. Yours guys is vertically flat. Look at all this stuff. This means all these things are loading simultaneously, but nothing's downloading, nothing's completing. And there's just so much CSS and JavaScript, and that you can have a lot of this stuff, but that goes into deferring the JavaScript, asynching the JavaScript. What that basically means is your guys are loading JavaScript up top, and this is a whole other complex topic, but you want the JavaScript to load at the bottom whenever possible. And you use WordPress, so there's plugins that can do this. It's not really that complicated anymore, but and there's just a lot going on. There's a lot, I would say, just on the brief amount of time I looked at it, a lot of that can be cleaned up and is unnecessary. But the JavaScript you do have definitely needs to be deferred or asynced whenever possible. You can see here when I tested it, it was 13.5 second load time, and that's horrible. And when people run these tests, they normally check their home page, pivotmd.net, but you need to check your other pages, because if you have the page where you're selling something, what if your home page is okay, but that page where you're selling something's real slow? So web page test is a good tool. Pingdom is popular. GT metrics this is the first place I go when I'm doing something. I go to web page test when I'm getting into more of the details, but I didn't need to really go here because I could tell based on this it was real bad. So I mean, you don't have gzip and compression enabled, which is 2-minute fix. It's not hard at all. That needs to be done. Your images are, we'll get into that, but the images basically need to be optimized. The CSS is all over the place. There's a lot of CSS coming. Caching isn't set up properly. We discussed deferring JavaScript, the scaled images. I mean, it's just one thing after the other. You don't use a CDN. There's no reason not to use a CDN nowadays. What this basically means is Cloudflare has a free account and your services are out of Maryland. But let's say somebody's traveling from California and they access your website. Now, in order to access your website, assuming your website is hosted in Maryland somewhere, they have to access all of the web server across the internet all the way from California to Maryland. Not that big of a deal anything anymore because things are real slow. But what Cloudflare does, they have servers all over the place, and they'll put all of your static assets, your images and things like that, on servers closer to where the person is requesting your website from. So there's no reason not to do that, and it doesn't help with all websites, but it's something that should definitely be tested out. So that's that. This is a multi-day, week project for somebody to get all this stuff done. Like lazy load, you're not doing any of that stuff. You do have a sitemap. Just make sure it's submitted to Google Search Console. I know you do. It looked like you did have Search Console configured, and we'll get into a little bit of that. So what I looked at, I wanted to see what technologies you guys were using on your website. Let me go back. I think I messed that link up. Obviously, I messed that link up, but so you can see here, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of code and a lot of customization that you don't need, and this is totally slowing your website down. And I mean, all of these are things you probably need a lot of them, but a lot of them you don't. So let's see here. So if you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 23 pages of stuff. We'll take my blog, and of course it's a totally different type of website, but this is kind of it's how I get a good baseline. Probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 pages of different underlying technologies. Let's just, out of curiosity, I didn't even do this yet. Let's do IBM.com. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, well, a bunch of language translations and stuff. That was a bad example, but you do need to clean all that up. I would go through each one of them and determine what you need and what you don't need. Now, the reason this is important is Google takes speed into account. If your website loads slow, so this may not seem like SEO, but it is SEO because the goal of SEO is just to get more eyeballs and more traffic to your website, right? And then make more sales on what you're offering. But if your website's slow, you're not going to rank, no matter how good your product or service is. And in your case, virtual offices, or I think they call it co-sharing. So, covered all of that. Covered the metadata, the schema. There is schema available for local business. Now, what schema is, if you search for chili recipe, you know these boxes that pop up top? This is because this is a recipe schema type. So that's how Google knows, and this is a rating type, schema type. So Google knows to put this in this format because it's a recipe. Or sometimes you do for search for a recipe, and it has the steps up here. That's because the person has implemented this web page as recipe schema type, and it translates that up top. So you want to have schema configured on your pages. I did see that you have it configured for your home page. Make sure it's configured. I'm not familiar with, I'm not a schema expert, but there is local business schema and place schema. You might want to look into those and get those configured for your website. I didn't see that you had those. At least I didn't think so. But it looks pretty good overall. Twitter rich cards and related things. If somebody let me do this. So this is my blog. It just answers weird random questions that pop into your head. So why are pretzels brown? Let's say somebody is on Twitter and they find something interesting on your page and they share it. Well, there's something wrong. Instead of, well, if I share this and I look at it, well, of course, that one's messed up. But it should share with a graphic right here. And see this little box it puts it in? If you don't have Twitter rich card set up properly, it'll just show the link, and it won't grab the title and the description. And for some reason, it's not pulling the image. But normally, like I said, this is like a test site that I have. It should pull this image right here and put it in there. So that's just another thing you want to do, because your links look more they look more, what's the word I'm looking for? You're more prone to get clicks on your links if it's a picture with the description rather than just a tacky HTTP URL. Now, content. This is the other thing you're not doing. Content's huge. You need to have a blog. I know that sounds extremely boring, and for the first few months I would do a post a week, maybe a post every other week. Then after you build up some good content, you can change it down to once a month or so. Now, you're probably wondering, wow, what am I going to blog about, like my employees or whatever? Now, what you want to do, there's a great website called Answer the Public, and it pulls its data. So if you type Google, if you type New Orleans Saints, see how this auto-completes? Let's do this. Let me do a little bit more. Saints schedule, Saints ticket. This is called Google autocomplete. It pulls its phrases from here. So it pulls phrases that people are actually searching on. So you come here. They change this up. There's also like a little strange guy right here. And in yours, you would do virtual office. I think you use the word co-share, but same kind of thing. Searching. And you can see it comes back with this, I call it a circle chart. I don't know what the real word is. You can zoom in. So what you do here, then you can go, or you can go to data and look at it. These are things that people are searching for. So what you do is find stuff, which virtual office is best. That would be an awesome blog post. And of course, you would say yours at the end, or write about how you can determine if a virtual office is best. And virtual office may not be even the right word. Let me do this. Let me do. So I think you definitely specifically used a word. Shared office space. So this will be better, because virtual office could mean multiple things, right? It could be a technology. Let's not do this. Let's do shared office space. Now, a lot of these results are going to be like, shared office space New York, shared office space Los Angeles. And those are blog post titles. What on your blog you could write, what are some shared office space solutions in Los Angeles? Now that may not seem relevant to you since you're not in Los Angeles, but the point is to get traffic to your website. And if you get traffic to your website, the more traffic you get to the website, the more likely you are to appear in search results when somebody is searching for a product that you offer. So you can see here, shared office space. So a lot of these are location specific, like I thought. You know, what are some things I could consider when taking into account shared? No, that's not a good example. Okay, this is very niche, and we'll get into that. Let's go down here. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to get good content ideas for blog posts. So I think a good one would be, honestly, a good content ideas would be, what are some good shared office spaces for lawyers or shared office spaces for doctors? And that sounds boring, but people are searching for it. What are some good shared office locations in Calgary, in Toronto, for therapists? Yeah, a lot of these are too location specific. This would be kind of, I'd have to look through this. Or you can just do any blog topic related to work, related to mobile workers. What are some tips for mobile workers? Anything people are searching on. You'd be surprised at how much weird stuff people search from. What is shared office space? That's an obvious topic right there. So I mean, if you search for even, I don't like leaving you with a bad example. So let me. There's probably a lot of terms in this industry that I'm not familiar with. So let's do mobile worker. So I would say, you know, another one could be, what are 10 things to take into account when buying a laptop for a mobile worker? And that's not directly related to your business, but it gets people to your website. And the more people that go to your website, the more likely your website is to show up when people are searching for office space. What defines a mobile worker? That's kind of boring. So, you know what? I don't want to go on and on, but you get the idea. This is, I mean, again, this is a whole thing. And this isn't the only place. I mean, you can use something called Uber Suggest. You can use all these other things to get content ideas. But if you and your team brainstorm for 30 minutes, I'm sure you'd come up with 50 or 60 topics that, you know, you're more familiar with than I am. I would look at your competitors. Word count is still a thing as much as Google doesn't say it is. You don't want to have any content that's less than 400 words. You definitely want to have over 1,000 words if possible. But it's kind of a trick. You don't want to make it sound like, you do not want it to seem like you're trying to stretch just to fit over 1,000 words. So, you know, it's kind of a catch-22. If there's content that deserves 1,000 plus words, do it. And if you look at your competitor websites, if they have blogs, look at what they're doing. You could even write something on the same topic, but then increase the word count by about 10%, 20%. And that's weird. That a lot of times rankings will, you'll outrank that person in a few months just by doing something simple like that, along with these other things. About 10 to 20% more than normal. Put keywords in first paragraph and above the fold. See, this stuff is, it's kind of going by the wayside, but it's still a good idea in the content. If you say, what are some good shared office locations in California, in Los Angeles? You, in the first paragraph, say, the best, below is a list compiled of the best office space, shared office space locations in Los Angeles. And this used to be more relevant than it is now, and I'm honestly up on the fence about it, but it's a good practice just to kind of, and above the fold just means, if you go to a website, everything you see on the screen before you scroll down is above the fold. So you want to have the main part. So who are the Kurds and why are they fighting? The Kurds are an ethnic group, blah, 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 blah. So it kind of answers the question in the first paragraph. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. And there's exceptions. Like if you use an image up top, then it's not going to be there, of course. But if you don't, then get that content up there. Internal and external links are huge. Your internal links, you need to have them, and they cannot be broken. You can use WordPress plugins to automate this, so you don't have to worry about it. Then anytime you get a notification, just go and fix it. External links. The reason external links are so useful, other than helping people that visit your website to get to other useful information. It tells Google that you're a willing member of the internet, like you're a good team player, and you're not just trying to suck everybody into your website. That's a kind of a bad way to word it, but it shows that you want to help connect the internet, help make the internet a better place. Now, Grammarly and Hemingway Editor, basically, anytime I type content, I run it through Grammarly, which is a free tool. They do have a premium, which makes more checks, but it checks for spelling, basic grammar. And then I also run it through Hemingway Editor, which is a free grammar checker tool. You could do it the other way around, or you don't have to use it. But Google does check grammar. It is getting really good at this kind of stuff. Let me mention this real quick. You want to write your content like you're writing to a 10th grader, I think it is, or maybe an 8th grader. You don't want to write technical just to write technical. Again, Google takes this stuff into account, and you can check it here, write a post, copy and paste it in here, and it'll tell you what it thinks the content level is. But it's kind of a common sense thing. Just don't get fancy just to get fancy. Now, update content 1 per day. After you have a lot of content, I go back and I edit 1 post a day. Even if I don't change anything, I just go in it and save it. So the updated date shows, today. So when Google's indexing it, it'll go, if you have 2 pieces of the content that it ranks the same internally, we think that it would rank the more recent one over the one that's older. So it's just another signal that your content's up to date. Now, one thing I would definitely do with you guys is people love lists. They love top 10 things for. And there's a much higher conversion rate for people to get people onto your email list, which is still the best way to sell to people, if you offer something free. That's why you go to all these websites and they offer free ebooks. It's because it works. Now, something I would think about would be, for you guys, and I'd have to think through this, I'm going to pause it real quick. Give me 1 moment. Okay, sorry about that. Let me make sure I'm recording, and I am. So where were we? Yeah, so ebooks are good. And then you just upsell your stuff in it, of course. There's all kinds of SEO audits you can do, like WooRank and SEO Optimizer, and they tell you, like, okay, you're missing your H1 and your things, and these things don't matter as much anymore. So if you do them, just take them with a grain of salt. What I'm telling you will work. I mean, this is what you have to do. I mean, if I was doing this audit for you in 2010, you would take these things a little bit more seriously. Because what they're doing things, and they're making checks, and they're trying to upsell you on their products. So you kind of just take them with a grain of salt. But they're good for what they're good for. So now I have a few things. Whoops. I don't know why that's not clicking. Okay, well, all that was about was in your pages. I noticed some of them have the company name on the end of them, some of them don't. In your page titles, I would just make those consistent. Again, that's not that big of a deal. It's a lot of these things. It's not one thing that matters. The 3 main things, or the three things up top that I mentioned. All these other things are, well, unless I make a specific comment on them, aren't that big of a deal. It's kind of a let's get to it when we can kind of thing. I would make more content around the word rent, and that's just because me as a layman, if I was going to search for office space. Okay, oh yeah, here's me showing. See, on your website, the word rent appears once, because I was thinking how I would search for shared office space. I would do rent shared office space. Now again, this goes back to the whole keyword thing. Google is smart enough to know if on your website you say we sell, it's smart enough to know sell and rent are the same thing for the most part. But, it's better to have that mentioned at least sometimes. Now, again, that's one of those things that would be more relevant 8 years ago, 10 years ago. It still is, but not nearly as much. But that's something at least to consider. Because it's still, we don't know, but it sure has to be taken into account to some degree. Font overlap, let's see here. I believe if you scroll to the bottom right here, so this is just some cleanup on the presentation of the website. But the website looks really good. It's just a lot of under the cover stuff that needs to be worked on. So yeah, get that fixed. Font weight up top. So if you go to your website, you go to the home page, and again, this is not that big of a deal, but it's the professionalism of it. See, these are bold, bold, bold. This is not bold, and this is not bold. So home should not be bold here because they're on the home page, and these should be bold because you're not on them, or in the inverse, or the other way around. So the two errors on the home page, there's an extra space right here, and you have this, whatever this is right here, so that needs to be addressed. What I think would be cool for you guys is a VR tour. I know when I look for apartments or whatever, you can do like I don't know if it's a 360, well, I guess it would be a VR tour inside the apartment, and that gives me a good layout of what's going on. I would like to see maybe a gallery, and I would use a different word than gallery. If you did a VR tour, I'd have to think about it. But have like a virtual tour inside to show what your office space looks like. I think that would be really cool. And I think honestly Google takes this stuff into account. I don't have any evidence to back that up, but it shows that you're kind of on the cutting edge. Now if you look, this goes back to the keyword thing. I mean, it is what it is, how much the specific keywords are taken into account rather than just the intent of the website. But if you look at co-working space, there's a lot of searches for it, and there's low competition for it. So if you do ads, which I recommend you do, and we'll get into that a little bit, this might be a specific keyword, because Google, even though it's actually, that's not accurate, it now uses, if you search for dog food, Google will, the words dog food, now people that type in pet food will also get dog food. Well, if they search for puppy food, they'll also get dog food results. But this is a very interesting one. So this is something you might want to consider, creating Google ads and Facebook ads for this type of thing. So again, these are long topics onto themselves. And like I said, saying that, it's nearly 2020. Google's figuring out what your website's about without you having to rig the keywords. Google My Business, Yelp, Yellow Pages. I saw that you had Google My Business. I don't know if you had Yelp or not. I don't think you did have Yelp. But make sure, these are called citations. Make sure you are in all of these directories and everything is consistent, your hours, the address, and make sure you have the Q&A section filled out on Google My Business. Make sure the categories are correct. Google has said they do take all this stuff into account. And make sure you respond to every review. I saw you did have, I think, 8 positive reviews. All the positive ones you need to respond to. Google does that. They do take this into account. And obviously, anybody that has left a negative review, respond and, offer a free, like a refund or whatever you got to do. And just be proactive about it. Now, what I would do, and this isn't really SEO, everybody that leaves my business, or people, I don't have a business, but people I have worked with that own small business, they hand out cards that say, please leave a review and we'll give you 30% off the next visit, or 10% off, or whatever you guys can afford. The more, Google really pays attention to positive reviews when it determines how you're going to rank in the search engine. Okay, so this was kind of cool. I was looking through. You have contact agent here. Okay, it didn't a second ago, so that's weird. I was going to say, when I searched this previously, this company had this contact agent button. You guys, this one didn't, but it does now, so I don't know why it has it now, but it didn't a few minutes ago. But I was going to say, add that if you're not using it. And it's good you respond in 20 minutes. That's awesome. That's what I would expect. This day and age, I would expect to do things in under an hour. So I'm going to keep blowing through all of this. Google Analytics, know where your people are coming from, and Google Search Console, know what they're searching on, and mold your content around that kind of thing. Again, this is a whole 3-day course. I can't get through it in a 5-minute speech here. Google Search Console, get the email alerts. If there's any manual actions, fix them immediately. If there's any errors, fix them immediately. I just check weekly if there's not any errors, just to make sure everything looks okay. Have you submitted your sitemap to Google? You do have a sitemap, but just make sure it's submitted to Google, even though Google can figure it out, but there's no reason not to. Mixed content. On your web page, if you go there, and this is a big deal, if you go to a web page, it has the padlock. That means it's fully secure. Yours does not. You have what's called mixed content. So what happened is the page was probably created without HTTPS when it was configured. When it was migrated to HTTPS, some of the content still like pictures and images and things like that still show up as HTTP. So you can run it through whynopadlock.com and you can see, okay, there's only one. You can see here it's coming from HTTP instead of HTTPS. So basically you just re-upload that image and it should take care of itself. No big deal, but it'll certainly help your ranking. I mean, what I should say, it's an easy fix that'll certainly help your ranking. Press releases. For your business, press releases are a big thing. You may not get business from them, but there will be backlinks to your website. Backlinks are a big thing. So I would do and then put the press releases on your website as well. 50 free sites to post your company's press releases on. So basically what backlinks are, and you may know this, the more backlinks you have coming to your website, it's a signal to Google that your website is good. Now, that's why people used to sell backlinks. You know, get 1,000 backlinks to your website for $50. You don't want to do that. You want legitimate backlinks. So for example, if you got a backlink from CNN or Bloomberg, nobody from one of those websites is going to link to you unless it's a legitimate website. So what that does is when Google's determining how to rank you, if you have a lot of a lot of web pages from CNN or Bloomberg or Fox News or Yahoo or whatever linking to your website, it's going to tell Google that you have a very good website. And that's one factor of the I think there's, I don't know, hundreds maybe, that are going to determine how you rank in the search results. So your menu bar disappears. So I think this is because you third-party out your reservation system, and I totally get that. And this is, again, another very minor thing. If you go to membership plans, you can see here, home, about, membership plans, gallery. This all looks really good. See how it goes to cobot.me, and that's a reservation system or something, and you lose your home, about stuff up here. If you can get that on there, that's good. If not, it's no big deal. At a minimum, be able to link back, which actually links you back to this, but it would be good if this linked you back to your actual homepage. Not that big of a deal, just something to fix if you have time. I noticed, so why, not just what? This is more of a marketing thing, but you go to your website up here. There's a lot of what you are, but you might want to put a sentence in here of why. Like, why would I want to choose you guys over one of your competitors there in Maryland? Again, that's not really an SEO thing, but it's more of a marketing thing, but I just wanted to mention that. I know a lot of businesses, they add a couple sentences of why, and it helps. It's a psychological thing. Use breadcrumbs. If you go to here, you can see up here it's home, culture, who are the Kurds, why are they fighting? So those are called breadcrumbs. I would implement those on your website. You can do that with, pretty easily in WordPress. It just helps make the navigation easier. Now, don't forget about Bing and others. A lot of people submit their search engines to Google and that's it. But a lot of times even I'll get lazy and I'll come down here and I'll go, okay, New Orleans Saints, whatever, and that brings me to Bing. So I think it's about 10% of search traffic comes from Bing and other search engines like Yahoo and DuckDuckGo. Now, you don't have to submit to DuckDuckGo and you don't have to submit to Yahoo. Once you submit it to Google and Bing, they'll pick it up eventually. Now, you do want to consider submitting it to, Baidu and Yandex. So Yandex is a Russian search engine, and that kind of seems a little weird. If you probably don't have a lot of people coming from, well, maybe you do. I think you might be there. You're near Baltimore, so we probably have a lot of international people. But the point is, your content will be linked in those search engines. So if somebody comes across your content from China or Russia or whatever and clicks on it, that's just one more signal to Google, and it uses Google Analytics to figure out how many people are visiting your site, that your site has good content. And it's relevant, and then the next time that'll increase it by one tick. There's probably hundreds of thousands of ticks. When somebody's searching to get shared office space, you have one more tick on your side. So basically, don't duplicate content. It's called keyword cannibalization. Your pages will be competing for the same result in Google. That's kind of a common sense thing, but don't do it. Don't plagiarize. And make sure other people are not plagiarizing your content. If you plagiarize others' content, you will get penalized. And if other people are plagiarizing your content, they probably will get penalized. They should, but you want to contact them and ask them to take it down because it really could mess with your results. Now, a lot of competing businesses do this kind of stuff to kind of hurt people, but Backlinks to a rule. This is a whole multi-day discussion, but you want to get backlinks. A couple things you could do. You can do like Google for link roundup mobile workers, and these are people that are posting links to things related to mobile working, or link roundup business executives, and then add your links to these link roundups. Link roundup kosher, office space, link roundup traveling tech workers, or whatever, or mobile workers, or whatever. Then add your links to those resources. Now make sure you're also in all the local business directories, all the relevant local directories. Like, I'm sure, let me see, I think I have this mentioned down below. We'll get back to it. Haro is a great resource. Now I can imagine it's help a reporter out. Basically, reporters are always looking to write stories, and not just and like I can imagine them writing a story on the current trends in the mobile workforce. If they are, and you help them out, they'll provide a backlink to your page. So that's, again, this is a whole other discussion, but get into that, look into that, and contact relevant journalists that are writing. I mean, anything related to business, really. For you guys, you could be an expert on that, and you want to become an expert on that. Now, and other things you could do, get involved in charities, and these charities provide backlinks, and that's a whole, that, again, that's another thing, but you definitely can do that kind of stuff. Business awards, that kind of thing. Now, you definitely want to have live chat, especially 2019. People expect instantaneous chat. Now, there's free WordPress plugins that do it, and you don't have to have somebody in computer 24 hours a day. It'll actually post to your mobile phone. And if you're busy, it'll say, we'll get back to you within an hour, a business day or whatever. So that's something you want to look into. Check for broken links. Nothing will hurt you quicker. Well, something will, but having broken links really hurts your search results. There's plugins, I think I mentioned that above, that'll check for that. Get rid of all sample content on your website. I found this broken link, and it brought up some very strange stuff. So it looks like whoever installed your website, they didn't delete the sample content. So get rid of all this. You don't want Google. If anything, you're gonna do more harm than good, and Google's gonna get really confused as to what your page is about, your website is about. You have a broken link here. See, this is your Facebook, your Twitter. If you go down to the bottom, you can see here how it says HTTPS down here. Look, Instagram.com. This link is messed up. It says HTTPS, so if you click on it, you can see here. It goes to pivoting/LinkedIn. Somebody meant to type this in. I'm assuming. That's more than likely it. Yeah. So that needs to be fixed. To pop up or not to pop up, pop-ups are a great thing, but they're extremely annoying, but they do work. So I think a good compromise for pop-ups is if you have a pop-up to advertise, whatever you're advertising, or whatever you want. A pop-up would be great to sign up here to receive our free PDF on the top 10 things to look for when looking to buy a shared office space or to rent shared office space. You could pop it up from down here in the bottom right. I think that's reasonable. I don't like when it takes up the entire screen, even though it does work, but I like to focus more on user experience. So I think just popping it in from the bottom right would be a good compromise. Test. This is a whole other topic. So, User Bob, you can pay. I do User Bob sessions, 20 User Bob sessions a month. I do 20 for all my websites. I do 20 for $1 each, so it's $20. And what it is, people they get all the people for you. They come to your website, and they just give a first impression of what your website is. And so you can kind of get an idea of they like this, they don't like this. Now, another benefit of it is a lot of times things will be broken on my website, and I don't know it because I'm just looking at it from my one browser on my one laptop. Things might appear broken to people that are using different computers on different browsers, and so you can see that. Now, Inspectlet is an applet that you install on your page. It's free, up to 50 sessions per day, and that's all you need. And I'll show you. So basically, it records people on your website actually navigating around. So session recordings. So these are people that have visited my site, and you can see they came from Yahoo, they came from Google. This is the search terms they used from Bing to get here. So how many songs? Let's go to, why is it called, that's not a good question. Is it illegal not to fill out the census form? So I'm going to stop moving my mouse. I'm going to change it to 1 time speed. So this is somebody on my website. That's them moving their mouse. And you can see exactly what they're reading. And so you can kind of see what works and what doesn't work. And also what's broken. According, what they see that's broken. It may not look broken on your side, but it looks broken on their side. I spend about, 30 minutes a week looking at these just to make sure everything's working as expected. So you get the idea. Now they also have things called heat maps and stuff. I don't even know if I have the heat maps configured. Let me go back here. And I think these are kind of overrated, personally, but a lot of people like them. So you can see where on your page people's eyeballs are. So you can see here, the blue. That's where people's mice are going, and that's where they're, So if you see a lot of people aren't, see, look at here. So this is people stay on this part of the web page a lot, so that's good content. So again, I think these things, it's just kind of like okay, that's kind of cool, but what do you do with it kind of thing? But if you're selling a lot of online merchandise, then it might be more relevant, but it's just one more thing to know. Then check, you can, if you want to do this on your own, you can go to like Browserling. Anytime I make major changes, I do this. So I go here, you go here, and you just kind of go, okay, do it on Windows 7, do it, let's see what it looks like in Firefox version 68, test now. Sometimes it's a free tool, so sometimes there is a queue built up, and you can kind of just see what your website looks like using that browser combination with that operating system, right? And you can see here the mixed content icon up here, which is not good. So you can see, okay, it looks pretty good on that combination. And of course, you can't test on every possible scenario, but it's just another tool to have at your disposal. Lowest price guarantee. I think lowest price guarantees are great, and this is a marketing thing. Most people don't even take you up on it, but it's a nice thing to have. Now, this is how you can find, and I'm trying to blow through all this because it's just a lot of stuff. If you want to know all the local business directories in your location, so you can do Baltimore directory, and then come down here and find relevant business directories and make sure you're in all of them. Not a lot of people are going to find you there, but it's a backlink. Some will. You can search for Submit My Site City. So this is how you find business directories in places to where you can submit your website to. Add to niche blogs. So there's a lot of people writing about a lot of cool stuff. Just contact these blog writers. You can ask them about advertisements. You can ask them about if you can guest post. And the key is to give the good content and then to link back to your blog. So it's a link building exercise. It's like nobody wants to write content for guest blogs, but it's a niche building. Anybody that does this seriously not anybody, most people that do this seriously do some form of reach out. And so these are just ways to find places to grow the footprint, is that the right word, of your website in your business. So this is another thing here. You can get into that. So these are just more ideas. Podcast. I mean, is there any podcasts that are relevant to your business that you are an expert on your business and you could be a guest on? Podcasters are always looking for guests, so look through that. I love advertising, even if it's $10 per week. You can get a lot more clicks than you might think, especially on sites like Reddit and Quora. And then if you do it on Facebook, like boost your page, make sure you target, like if you're selling hamburgers, you can target people who like beef. You know what I mean? You don't want to target vegetarians, so you can not target vegetarians. So once somebody likes your page, make sure you invite them to your page. A lot of people don't do that. Or what I like doing, I like boosting unique content. So I'll have a post on, Donald Trump, which is very controversial, and I'll target conservatives. I'll target, like, there's with the whole impeachment stuff going on, and I hope this doesn't offend you one way or the other. I'm not taking an opinion on it. I'm just saying can a president that has been impeached run for office again? And I can target people who like Trump and who do not like Trump and get a lot of content that way. And once they like my boosted page on Facebook, I invite them to my page, and I've grown it to 1,300 followers in about a year, and that's with not spending a lot of time on it. You can do it a lot quicker than that. Advertise using competitor name. If you search for McDonald's hamburgers, a lot of times you'll find the first ad is to Burger King. So you just want to advertise using your competitor business names. That'll put you ahead of your competitors' names in the search results. Now, all this is a lot, and it's impossible to keep track of. The three things I would suggest doing: subscribe to the free newsletter at SEOroundtable.com. I used to subscribe to 10 different email newsletters to stay on top of all this stuff, and it's impossible. They summarize all of the relevant SEA news from around the web in a daily newsletter, and a lot of times you don't have to click the complete stories. They'll summarize it in a small little paragraph, and it's really good, and it saves you a lot of time. Follow Google Webmaster's Twitter account. That's from from Google themselves, so you want to know exactly what they're talking about. And then I would follow John Moo on Twitter as well. He's like the main Google search guy at Twitter, and you want to know what the people that are in charge of the search engine are actually saying. And I have a growth tracker spreadsheet where you can track results in a real way, not some useless SEO audit report, which are mainly useless. And I can share that with you if you'd like to see it. Just let me know. And that is that. I think I've rambled on here for almost an hour. I'm not even sure, but hopefully this helped. Hopefully you weren't looking for any magical solutions, because there are none, but there's a lot. The good news is there's a lot of work for somebody to do. And there's a lot of things that you can do to improve your website. The first thing I would absolutely do is the website performance. That's somebody that can fix all this probably in a week or two. And then start working on the content. And then knock these out one by one. All this. This one's important too. But press releases, get Google Search Console configured, Google Analytics configured. If it's not already, use breadcrumbs. Just knock these out one by one. So hopefully this helped. Feel free to follow up with any questions, and I hope you have a good day.